BHAW Army Wrestling Radio Show. I'm Jordan Tom, followed Brian Rowan on site at West Point. What's up, B-Row?
How's it going, Jordan? Yeah, I had to think what episode we're on. Got somebody running by in a rucksack here at 9:07 p.m. Hopefully they're going to get back by taps. But yeah, I'm up at West Point. I think some of our wrestlers are about 100 yards away. I cannot be where they're at right now. It's pretty locked down here, but it's good to be here.
Absolutely. So this episode, we got the class of 2020 seniors on. This is their opportunity to talk about what they went through over the last 4 years and kind of give their closing thoughts on their experience with the program. So talking about the class of 2020, it's my knowledge that they had 12 guys coming in with the recruiting class, and they got 12 graduating. We talked about that with Coach Ward on episode 1 about just what that metric means of people that come in versus graduate in your program. And I think that really attests to the commitment level, considering that not all these guys had an opportunity to maybe see the starting lineup. And that just alludes to what it means to be a part of this brotherhood and part of this program. During their 4 years, they were, they got the first EIWA trophy in the last decade. They've had 21 NCAA qualifiers. And obviously, program first class to ever have 4 wins over Navy. These were the words that Coach Ward had to say in his letter to them last week. He told them, Class of 2020, you guys redefined what success means for the program. You have relentlessly pursued a better version of yourself, always finding the courage to be better today than you were yesterday. And when I heard that, I was thinking about what Raph said in episode 2, talking about how graduation day is not the end of your guys' story. So the best is yet to come for the class of 2020. I'd like to start off the episode by saying I appreciate and really thankful for all you guys have done for the program. You took it to a new level, and want to welcome you guys into the alumni base, and we look forward to seeing all that you guys are accomplished in the future. So this episode, we want to give you guys the chance to look back at your 4 years, talk about some of the highs, some of the lows, everything in between. Want to give you everybody who's on. So we got Trey Shalafu, Ben Harvey, David Russell, Samuel Williams, Luke Weiland, Alex Hopkins, Noah Hanau, and Jeremiah Emanode. We got everybody on here as much as we can, considering the circumstances. But this year's graduation obviously looks super unique with the COVID situation. I want to start by talking to some of the guys, catching everybody up to speed on what the last 3 months has looked like. When we look all the way back to kind of when COVID-19 began, it happened to be right in conjunction with the NCAA tournament. At least that's what I kind of align it with as a wrestling fan. So talking with Ben Harvey, Ben, talk me through what the week leading up to NCAAs was like. And then if you can recall that hard conversation you guys had when you found out that it was canceled.
Thank you, Jordan. Thank you for having us on too, by the way. But that week, I mean, as in like the entire world kind of news, like it just everything became so uncertain, and that's how it was with NCAA. So I knew, I was focused on having a great tournament last senior year tournament NCAAs, like I always try to do with NCAAs, and you just kept pairing this like kind of like the thought in the back of your head, like, is this going to happen? I wasn't on social media. I'd given up for Lent, so I feel like I was actually, in a better place. I feel really confident. My feelings was that, hey, let's let everyone else in the world focus on whether this tournament's not going to happen. I'm ready for it. And so that was kind of my focus the whole week, was just, hey, this is definitely happening. They wouldn't dare do this. And that's kind of how we got into, what was a Thursday. And I remember a couple guys on the team were talking about, all these, maybe like men's basketball had been canceled, or was thinking about it, some other stuff that was going on that I just wasn't tracking. And, it was just, to me, it became like hard to, focus. And I remember I was thinking about saying something at the end of practice, just about, hey guys, NCAAs is happening, let everyone else, kind of just my mindset, like let's focus on getting an awesome NCAA tournament and getting a trophy. And so when, we got into practice, we had a great practice, and Coach Ward sitting there, he pretty much says my message. He goes, hey, let everyone else do it. Let's focus in on it. The NCAA's tournament's happening. And then you just see we're sitting there and you see Coach D'Angelo tap Coach Ward and show him a picture of a phone or a little phone, and Coach Ward just says, "Hey, guys, and he just read the quote from whatever NCAA administrator was just about how the tournament was not happening, and that was just an absolute blow. Obviously for the whole team, but I just knew for myself I had worked so hard to keep focused on that, and I just felt like I was going to finally All-American, and I think there were a lot of guys on the team who felt that too. Felt like something got ripped from them. So that was so hard and just incomprehensible to describe that feeling, kind of getting the life sucked out of you.
Yeah, I can't imagine the feelings of having something that you worked so hard for kind of feel like it's taken from you.
But anyways, I mean, Coach Ward, he knew a lot of us were struggling. We were planning on having a big team dinner after that, and he said, "Hey, we're going to continue having that." And it was really fun to just hang out for a little bit and, not just, go to my room and think about it, rather than, instead of we had, the entire 50-plus team together, which was really helpful.
What was the timeline like, between like NCAA's being canceled and like all the cadets going home and things like that? Like, was it close by one another? Because I remember you guys came out of class and, all the cadets were released kind of like right after they came back from spring break. What was that timeline like for you guys?
So what spring break ended it was like a Friday. That's when all the cadets got released. And then, so pretty much everyone was gone except like the wrestling team, basketball team, maybe. So we were just training all week. And then it was that Thursday following. So still in the middle of spring break when we got the message that first NCAA's got canceled. And then while we were at that dinner with Coach Ward and the whole team, we got a message from our superintendent saying, "Hey, the core cadets will not return for I think they put it till the end of March, so about 2 weeks later." So there was not only emotions about the NCAA tournament getting canceled, and it was emotions like I got to figure out where I'm going. I don't want to, not that I would get stuck at West Point, but some of us were a little worried, and so we were just, just a huge spread of emotions on what to do right then. It was quite like an absolute madness of a night.
That's wild.
Yeah, it sounds like absolute chaos trying to figure out where you're going to go. And I'm sure you guys' families don't know what's going on either. They're just trying to get you there. Luke, I know we talked before. Describe me what the last couple months of school were like. Did you guys end up taking T's and stuff, or did you not take them? And describe to me kind of how graduation was communicated to you guys. Was it your TAC contacting you and telling you how you needed to get back and all your guys' different guidelines, or was it your cadet chain of command? What was that like?
So the last couple months of classes were pretty interesting. So majority of my classes were taken on teams, and some guys had to use Blackboard, but majority of mine were taken on teams. And actually, I had a pretty unique experience where a bunch of kids had to go to class. None of my classes really met. I had my geography class would meet maybe like once or twice a week, something like that. But other than that, I really didn't have class like at all. I just had to do assignments. There's actually one pretty funny story of whenever I actually had to be in class. So I was living with Alex the whole quarantine. I was living with Alex Hopkins, and I totally forgot that you need to like mute the class if you were doing anything else, you're going to talk or stuff. And so I had my headphones in and I had just spoken in the class and I forgot to unmute. I forgot to mute, and I really had to go use the restroom. So I go and I use the restroom during class and flush the toilet, and I get back and my whole class is like, I get a text from my buddy Miles, and he said, "Dude, you're not muted." And I lost it. So yeah, class was definitely an awkward experience in that you had to remember to mute your stuff. But classes weren't difficult. Like I said, I really didn't have any class to go to, so my days were pretty chill. And as far as how we learned we were coming back to West Point, our TACs my company had a Cub every Monday and Wednesday night, and we would get information, just updates on how they were going to bring us back and everything. And my tech kept going, we don't know. We haven't been told anything. We haven't been told anything. And out of nowhere, we're sitting in Alex's living room, and we see something where Donald Trump says, West Point's graduation will be on June 13th. We go, oh, all right. And then the next day, there was like an Instagram post saying, the Corps will be graduating on the 13th. And then people are like, so this is legit? Or like, we're actually graduating on the 13th? And then we finally got an email saying that we will be graduating on the 13th. So that's how we found out. And then our tax ended up telling us, like, I was in cohort 1, so I had to come back May 27th. And then guys in different cohorts had to come back the following days, 28th, 29th, and 30th. So that's how that all happened.
I saw some pretty funny pictures of facial hair during quarantine. Did any of you guys like keep mustaches? I think you guys had to shave because you're like on Zoom videos and stuff. Did you guys have to? Sorry, the meeting's been upgraded. Anybody have any cool mustaches or facial hair stories?
So I
Absolutely not. We were the standard.
I shaved twice a day.
I shaved every day.
So my dad has had a mustache for the last 25 years. I wanted to see what I looked like with one, if I resembled my dad. And I very much did not. I do not grow in a good mustache. It looks a little creepy, and I don't think I ever want facial hair again after seeing myself with that.
Oh, gosh. So getting back to graduation, obviously you guys were supposed to commission on your original graduation date. Then your graduation date gets shifted to the right, where now it's, this weekend, but they didn't go back and shift your commission date. So you guys are the first class, I believe in West Point history, to be commissioned second lieutenants on the day of graduation. I saw at least one picture of class of 2014 wrestler Alex Dahl doing the commissioning for Dave Russell. Dave, going to direct this question at you. Did everybody do a commissioning, or was that just something you did because you knew Alex? What did commissioning look like for everybody?
So it kind of just worked out for me. I met Alex about 2 weeks before that through, I think his name's Matt Pennington, blonde guy, 2014 guy. Yeah. So I met Alex through him, and Alex was the first Army wrestler to go through combat dive school. And so I thought, who better than to commission me than Alex? And I just happened to live in that area. So he drove out 45 minutes, commissioned me. It was a great thing. But I don't know so much about a lot of people. I feel like a lot of people kind of got to miss out on a good commissioning. Not a lot of people are lucky enough to live by the great Fort Bragg like I am, or have a whole lot of friends or family that are in the Army, and they're not letting people do commissioning ceremonies here after graduation. So I'm hoping that everybody gets get the commissioning ceremony that they want soon here after graduation.
Yeah, it's
Are you
certainly.
guys allowed to do anything after graduation, or what's that look like? Any of you guys can respond because it's kind of off the cuff. But
I actually wanted to say that I was able to have a commissioning ceremony because I was at school. I had to come back early, but I was able to get commissioned by Major William Simpson, and that was awesome because he's like someone that we all look up to, and it was nice to do that. And Coach Ward was there, and Colonel Gist was there, so it was nice to have that. I was live streaming to my family and everything, so it's pretty dope.
That's pretty cool.
Very cool. Well, I guess Jeremiah and David will have to commission everybody else.
I will. I'm the senior officer here, so I'll do it.
Okay. All right. Hey, I'm going to direct the next question at Alex Hopkins. Walk me through, at least to your knowledge, brother, what graduation week looks like. I know it's been super chaotic, and you guys have had to stay in these cohorts to maintain all the different, requirements and procedures that West Point outlined. I don't know the answer to this question, but are there going to be guests at graduation, families? And I also hear it's going to be on the plane, which I think's only the second time that ever graduation's been there.
So there's going to be no guests at graduation. The only people that will be in the stands are going to be the TAC teams. And then other than that, it's just going to be the cadets and then anyone who's like speaking or part of the graduation. It's going to be on the plane. You're correct about that. We're actually sitting on the steps to the mess hall right now, and there's 2 Apaches, 2 Strikers. There's some big like jumbotron screens facing the Corps cadets because they're going to like have it streaming just in case you're sitting in a bad spot and can't really see a speaker. There's a massive stage for the band. We're going to have a little 5 song concert during our graduation. And they're going to talk like, yeah, so it's way different than like the traditional graduation. All the seats are 6 feet apart. We're wearing masks, marching on, like, so we aren't going to be close. We're going to be kind of spread at intervals. And then we take the masks off once we sit down at our spot. So they still want us to keep our 6 feet social distancing. We're going to salute the president after we get our diploma from like the bottom of the stage, and they're up like 6 feet elevated or 5 feet elevated or so. So it's a completely different kind of experience. It'll be unique to kind of see.
Yeah, and if you could, I think a lot of listeners don't have any kind of idea what's going on as far as, what it looked like you guys getting, coming back to West Point. We talked a little bit about like the different cohorts. Walk us through what it looked like, kind of like getting here 2 weeks ago-ish to now.
So Luke and I were in the same cohort, so we were able to return the same day. So we drove to New York from Missouri, and once we got to Bucknar, we parked at the TMP, which is across the road from Camp Bucknar, and then they separated you whether you had a POV or whether you didn't, and then they immediately took your temperature and everything. We got driven over to Bucknar in vans or buses, about like 1 cadet per every other row, so we were really far spread apart. They gave us masks right away. Then once we got to Bucknar, we were immediately escorted to the auditorium. They gave us a speech, kind of talked us through what the next day is going to look like. We immediately get tested. From testing, we just go to the Bucknar kind of tennis courts, if you know where those are. Mm-hmm. And just sat. They were just harping on like be 6 feet apart, wear a mask, all the traditional rules right now. And then until your test came back positive or negative, you were just stuck there, which for some of us took 4 hours, some took 3, and some took a little longer. But after that, if you were positive, I don't know exactly what it looked like, but I know you were escorted and like taken to a quarantine barracks, which there were only around like 10 or 12 cadets that were positive. And then if you were negative, you were still socially distant, but you were escorted back to West Point, and then your TAC team met you where the bus dropped you off and escorted you to your room, informing you of all the rules about like only being allowed to be on your side of the hallway, a specific bathroom you get to use, 4 people per bath, like all these new rules that have never been a thing. So like even though Luke Weiland lives 3 floors down from me, I had to stay on my floor.
Yeah.
So that's kind of how the in-processing worked.
Dang. So were you guys just hanging out, for like a week, just kind of doing nothing? Are they making clean the barracks, or how was were they giving you menial tasks to do every day?
So it was pretty much like, for me at least, I don't know about the later cohorts, but it was pretty much 1 task a day. So like one of the days I went and picked up my orders. The next day I got my new CAF. The next day I turned in my TA-50, got my car to pack it out. And everything was like broken down by like, okay, these companies have this time to go get a haircut, and only this company can go then. Or if you're in like Luke's situation, you got told to go get a haircut right away. But
Mr. Mustache,
it's like beef all over again.
So I, with the whole haircut thing, I had to do like a video, and they like, as they're bringing me over to do this video for graduation, I'm telling them I haven't gotten a haircut. Obviously, my hair is insane right now. And they go, oh, it's going to be fine. Like, you'll be fine. Just wet it down beforehand. So I try wetting my hair down and everything. And then we do the whole interview, this whole video thing. And then it gets to Colonel Marsh, who's our BTO. And he takes a screenshot of the photo. And the next day I get a call from Master Sergeant Espinosa, who works on brigade as well. And he's just like, he seems very upset with me, and I cannot find out why. And then he goes like, you're the one with the hair. I was like, I don't really know how to answer this. And then he brought me down, and he goes, you're going to go get a haircut. And then brought me to the barber shop. And I told the barber what I wanted. She was talking to my tack and studio beforehand, and I got a lot different. They kind of messed me up a little bit, but that was my situation with the whole haircuts.
Hey, everybody's got a bad haircut there, well, at least once or twice. Well, it sounds like it's certainly been a really unique couple weeks and even a couple months for you guys. I hope, given the circumstances, that you guys can celebrate your accomplishments on graduation day and your families can see it through the stream and just really celebrate what you guys have done, because it is a big deal. But I want to go back now 4 years to before you guys were at West Point. I want to hear some stories of your time during there. But as a high school kid, you probably had one perception of West Point, and then now you're 2 days away from graduation. I'm sure that your perception has changed completely. I want to hear this from Luke, and then David Russell. I know you had some thoughts too.
So my perception of West Point coming into it, or before, I guess when I started getting recruited was I kind of just thought, I didn't know anything about West Point. I thought it was like a D3 school down in Louisiana, and Coach Ward was telling me like, yeah, we'll get you up here, and we'll have you come for a visit. And I was thinking like, up there, I'm going south. Like, I'm from Missouri, I'm going to Louisiana. I don't know why I thought it was in Louisiana. That's what I thought. And so I get on the plane, and me just not paying any sort of attention when I was in high school and where I was going. I get off the plane. Still, I think I'm in Louisiana. I get picked up by Brad Pataki, who is the coach. He starts driving us, and I see New York City. And I didn't know what New York City really looked like. So I'm like, oh, no shit. Let's check out that city.
This is like Home Alone.
Brad Pataki goes, yeah, New York City's great. And I go, I like look at him, and in my mind, I'm going, I'm in New York right now. And I didn't say anything to him because I didn't want him to think like I was an idiot or anything. But in my mind, I'm freaking out. Like, I just told my parents, like, I'm getting a flight to Louisiana. I'm in freaking New York. So that first phone call with my parents was very interesting because I got on the campus, beautiful campus and everything. And then I called my parents. I'm like, hey, guys, I'm in New York. West Point is not in Louisiana. And I don't even think they knew what West Point was. They're just like, oh, okay, well, that's cool. But yeah, it's like my perception of West Point was just like really small school in Louisiana, and I thought I was going down to like the boondocks. And whenever I showed up here, I was like, this place is amazing. So yeah, that was me as a high schooler.
So I guess it'd be safe to say, Luke,
so before I came to West Point,
anybody graduate? Is that safe to say, Luke?
Yes, that's 100% safe to say. I don't know how I made it through.
Go ahead, David.
So when I was younger, before I ever came to West Point the first time, I always thought Army and Navy were both part of West Point. Like, I thought it was like half the campus was Army and half the campus was Navy, and that's why the game was so big. Was because like the two sides of the campus were coming together to, play a game.
Yeah.
Don't call me an idiot. So, and then when I came here, I was like, I remember driving around the first time thinking like, well, where's the Navy part of the campus? Like, I thought we would see some Navy cadets now, and we never did. But once I figured that out, after that, I thought this place was going to be kind of like robotic, to say the least. You know, you look at all the brochures, and it's cadets doing drill and ceremony on the plane, and I thought that was going to be like our life for 4 years, and it was actually for the first year for me. But once I got here, I realized that like there's actually a lot of really good people here. There's a few like bad apples here and there, but for the most part, everybody's pretty good. And then I got on the wrestling team, and I was like, all right, this is super non-robotic, and everybody's an individual, and this is definitely the place to be. So that's kind of how my perception of West Point evolved from childhood to high school to now.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's probably the case for a lot of people. They just don't know. If you didn't grow up in a military family, like you don't know what West Point is. And then you get there, you meet some amazing people, which I always think is probably one of the number one things that most people say is you meet the most amazing people at West Point. So I'm not shocked to hear you guys say that. And I'd be interesting if, as it kind of set in that you guys are about to graduate from the United States Military Academy, or are you guys just kind of caught up in the moment?
I don't know about you guys, but I feel like I don't know, that whole like 2 months of living at home kind of acclimated me to being like graduated. So now I guess it's like having a hard time to sink in that we're actually. I feel like when I throw on my hat, I'll feel it for like 10 seconds, and then I'll be like, all right, I'm ready to go home again. And
Well, not just that, but like the fact that we're already second lieutenants and this is almost like a formality. I think that was part of the excitement, was that you're moving on. So, I mean, it's just a little different than what I think most of us had envisioned.
Yeah, I think you always hear from graduates and alumni about how crazy grad week is and how tired you are because your family's there and you got so many events and parades. And I feel like you guys had a lot going on this week, but you also had a lot of downtime too, because your families aren't here. You're not going 24/7, cleaning out your rooms and doing all that. That you probably got to enjoy it a little bit more than in this week than in the previous years. As horrible as that is, that your families couldn't come. It probably sinks in a little bit easier than us in the past.
Absolutely. So looking back at the 4 years that led up to graduation, everybody's journey at West Point begins at Beast Barracks, which is West Point's version of basic training for their incoming cadets. I'm sure everybody on here has got plenty of stories about Beast and funny stuff and different encounters with your teammates. I know when I went through, the tradition was that the wrestling team did a barbecue like the night before Beast, and that's when we met everybody. I'm seeing some nods of affirmation that still goes on. Other than probably that, it can be a story from the barbecue. I know Jeremiah said he was going to answer this. What's kind of a story from Beast or the barbecue of kind of meeting your teammates and understanding what you guys are going through together?
So I think when I think about Beast Barracks, we were the last class that was able to do it with our team. So everybody was out. We were with all the wrestlers, and everybody else was with their teammates and stuff. That was fun. I can't really pinpoint on one in particular moment, but I did have the pleasure of being roommates with the one Alex Hopkins.
Oh boy,
that was really fun. We had a kid that was kind of out of his element being at the academy. He ended up leaving, but he was always really nervous. And like my brother was actually the athletics officer for the whole regiment, so he would come around and we'd mess around with him. But I think the most memorable times I had at Beast were whenever we would be around each other, we would just like start laughing or we'd start messing around, or like Ben Harvey would say something stupid, and all the cadre would get really pissed and they tried smoking us, and then they would just end up getting tired, and like after the smoking session they would stand up like all out of breath, like trying to chew us out, and everyone would just kind of laugh at them. And we got dropped a lot, but it was a lot of fun. Definitely think it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, that resonates a lot with me. I remember them trying to do push-ups and stuff and all the wrestlers laughing because nobody can hang with us, obviously.
Actually, you know what? There is one story that's pretty funny. Doesn't have to do with the other wrestlers, but the other wrestlers were able to witness this. We had this this test that we did. It was like a physical test, and it was called like the ACL like test. To like pretty much they had a bunch of people come in and run like some kind of scientific like research project on people's ACLs and how often ACL tears happen in military training. And they literally had an event that was just testing to see how strong people's ACLs are. But it was like you jump off a box, you land, and like that was it. Like you jump off, like say like you're doing like a little box jump, and then you jump off. There was a kid literally all you had to do was jump off this box. It was like maybe 2 feet off the ground. This kid jumps off the box and immediately huddles over in pain and tears his ACL in front of everybody. I just look over to Hopkins and I'm like, man, they probably just got some really good data for their research.
I shouldn't be laughing, but man, that's funny.
He came back. He's actually a rising senior now, so he was able to come back and finish out. But
Good on him.
Yeah.
Good on him. So then the second year, obviously you guys move from, you do Beast, your incoming year, your second year, you go through Bucknar. I unfortunately didn't have the opportunity to go through Bucknar with my teammates because I was hurt that summer. But I always hear everybody talk about going through Bucknar with the teammates and how much fun it is. Alex Hopkins, I know you got a story, man, about Bucknar. Let me hear it.
So I told this story to like Coach Ward, and it's been in a few videos. So most of the guys I know most of the guys have heard this, but I wanted to tell it again because it's just like
hit us with it.
Funny story. So Beast, we were with our teammates, but Bucknar, they decided, you know what, you aren't going to be with your teammates. It's just going to be random. So I was going through and I was like, all right, who am I going to get? Like, I hope I get one of you guys in my group. So Chris and I were in the same company, but we were in different platoons. And anytime we'd see each other, we'd like, even if it was in the field where we're supposed to be tactical, we'd be like, hey, like shout off from the distance, like run and hug each other, whatever. Like the whole 5 weeks or however long Bucknar is. And it comes to the end where, I don't know if they did this back when you guys went to Bucknar, but superlatives, like most likely to be president or like or roasts. And it gets to like the best couple award. And I'm thinking there's actually 2 cadets that started dating in our company. So I was like, okay, it's going to be those 2. And no, they say Chris Morgan and Alex Hopkins. And I'm going up, I'm laughing. It's just a funny joke. I'm about to give Chris a hug. And he comes in and in front of all 120 cadets in our company, just plants a kiss right on my lips.
Oh, gosh.
No, and he didn't even react. Like he wasn't fazed. I turned bright red. I'm like embarrassed, and he just walks off like it was nothing. So that was my Bucknar story of just like a funny thing.
I'm sure a lot of people were talking about that for a long time. All right, guys. Well, I want to get into some of the wrestling stuff. Appreciate you guys telling us what's going on up there for graduation and, some of you guys' stories about military training. But looking at the wrestling, so you guys accomplished a lot as a class. We talked about Coach Ward's sentiments on you guys' class about taking it to another level. And I'm sure you guys have probably thought about this a lot or talked about it a lot since season's been over. But being the first class to beat Navy all 4 years, want to talk about that and kind of when that became maybe a goal for your class. Like, was it right away? Was it after your plebe year when you beat them the first time? Was it something that you guys talked about a lot? Or was it just one of the milestones that you accomplished on your guys' eventual goal of being All-Americans national champs? And I know, Ben, you wanted to give us your thoughts on that.
Yeah, well, I first just kind of wanted to say, kind of just what that Navy experience, that little match means, like, to us on the team and everything.
Yeah.
I remember we were at the prep school, and, maybe I'd watched, maybe before, and when I was in high school, I watched my brother wrestle a little bit, the Army-Navy match. But when we were actually at the prep school, we decided to travel down to Navy for the match. And we were, like, totally expecting to kind of blow them out the water and win that match. And I think, like, we were having a great time, like, before the match, just everyone was super hyped because we thought we were going to destroy them. And I just remember watching that, and it was, like, absolute barn burner. I think my brother got pinned. No, actually, that's incorrect. I'm joking.
Ooh, shots fired.
No, he won, and then but they remember it was super tough, and
Hold on, you say he got pinned and now he won?
I know, I'm just messing with him.
Okay,
No,
cool.
he never lost to Bernstein. A feat I never quite accomplished.
And the Harveys had some goes with the Bernstein.
Yeah, we're family pretty much. But anyways, like, you know, when I saw that, when it was just an absolute dogfight of a match, and you know we ended up losing, like, you know, that just said to me like we were a way better team, and you know we still, you know, Navy found a way to win, and so that kind of like sets that kind of matchup is not necessarily who's coming in the most dominant, it's just who's going to perform that night, and it's going to be people, you know, performing way above, you know, how they normally do. So going to that, like, every year. I think Coach Ward, you know, he always spread this mindset. I always really liked it. It's like, hey, we accept that this Navy match, it's bigger than most. You know, it's that, you know, like that one you mark on your calendar. But at the end of the day, you know, we wrestle hard every day. You just expect to win, and that's like all that really matters. And so I didn't think of it. It's not like we sat down as a team, you know, freshman year. We're like, oh yeah, we're gonna beat Navy every, you know, 4 years in a row. It was just like, hey, we're gonna, you know, beat the crap out of everyone, or try to. You know, we were more focused probably on coming to NCAA All-American and whatnot, and it's just beating Navy just kind of came with that. And you know, luckily that, you know, we were able to accomplish that. So that's an awesome experience to be able to just kind of just, you know, not even mind it too much, but just to accomplish it just because you're working so hard.
Was there a specific Navy match that like meant more than others? Like out of the four, like the last one, you know, mean the most, or like when you guys blew them out one year, was it better than others, or you know, what was that like?
The sophomore year one was like hilarious and just awesome. It was just like that one was where we were underrated going into Navy. I didn't know anything about, like, we hadn't beat them at Navy in a long time, like, and whatever. Just like, we're going to Navy, and we had just absolute. I mean, that was like, talk about a dog fight of a match. It was just, every match was absolutely, everyone's fighting for every point, and we pulled up a couple wins that we weren't expected to. I got my one win over Bernstein, so, you know, did the Harvey legacy all right. But Mendel pulled one off. I think Rocco got it. Like, it was super tight, and then it came down to, you know, Bobby Heald Arena every match. He overtime victory, you know, it's tied 15-15. I mean, and then I just remember we were celebrating and we sang, what's the song that was Rockstar? Like, it was like we were celebrating, we were just playing Rockstar in the middle of the stadium. It's probably just so disrespectful, but it was hilarious. And I just think that was one of the best memories. I mean, you can't even describe how awesome that moment was.
Yeah, I distinctly remember watching that and going absolutely berserk on the other side of a TV screen. So I can only imagine what it was like in the actual arena.
Rockstar made my workout playlist after that match, and it still remains in the playlist.
We pretty much play it like after every dual meet, like now. Like, I hope that tradition carries on. It's just so funny.
Right on. Hey, I want to direct the next question at Trey, and then I know Luke's got something to say about it. But what does it mean, in your words, to be an Army wrestler?
To be an Army wrestler is a great honor. I mean, not many people get to wrestle for this great institution. So first, it's pretty humbling to be a part of this tradition of a United States Military Academy. But being a wrestler is more than just that. It's like, we're a tough group of guys. We're blue-collar tough. That's what we say. We're hard workers. We're determined. And, you know, it's just like, BHAW is a big part of that. When I first came into the program, that was like one of the first things that we were told. It's just like, BHAW, like, remember that, be a part of that, like, embrace that. That's what this program's about. And I think that brotherhood, that thing's the biggest thing. The love that we have for each other. I think I spent almost every weekend with one of these guys on the team, almost all year round. Like, they're like my best friends that I've had over the past 4 years and the rest of my life. And I think that's just like a huge part of this program, and that's why we've been so successful over these past 4 years, that the brotherhood's really carried us. And as we continue to push each other, not only in wrestling, but in other aspects of life, you know, to be better people and outside of wrestling as well. And it will help us as we move into this new career in the Army, to be better officers. And, you know, I'm glad I get to have these group of people to push me in all aspects of life.
Yeah, absolutely. I know you said before this that 4 of you guys are going to the same duty station, so that'll be cool to be together and still get to spend time. But I want to ask you a follow-up question. You talked about BHAW being one of the things that was messaged to you when you got there. Who was the person messaging? Was it coaches? Was it your team captains? Who was kind of giving you that?
So I think on my recruiting trip, I kind of heard a little bit of it. So I was blessed enough to have an old high school teammate on the team, Mark Marchetti, and he kind of first brought it to me. It was like when I was visiting up there with them, like him and Logan Everett, we hung out with them a lot over the weekend, and they kind of kept brought up in a couple conversations. And then as soon as we got it in on the team after Beast, it was kind of just like thing that was, it's on the wall, obviously so we could see it every day. And then just like the way the guys acted, it really showed like that it's not just a saying, it's actually what we do. So I think that's really where it came to be.
Absolutely. Luke, go ahead, man.
So to me, what being an Army wrestler meant majority of the time, I guess I didn't really realize it whenever I was at prep or at the very beginning of my plebe year, but I always looked up to like Samson and Minode whenever we were in prep school or plebe year. I just always thought like, dang, this dude is tough. And the like longer that I stayed here, the longer that I was a part of the team, the more I saw like that's what being an Army wrestler is. Just it's a bunch of tough dudes. And obviously I just see other wrestlers walking around campus and we're walking with our chests held high and just nobody wants to mess with a wrestler. And I'm just like, to me, that kind of put a chip on my shoulder. Here at the academy, just like I struggled big time in grades and everything. And in my mind, all I would be thinking is, I'm an Army wrestler. I'm going to do this. I'm going to get through this. I'm tough enough. And then whenever it came to the wrestling aspect, whenever we're walking out onto a mat, anytime I stepped out on the mat, I would kind of I always look down. I look down, see my singlet, and I just like get so fired up because I'm like, there's no way that this dude wants to fight harder than me. And that was really relevant in the Navy matches that we had, specifically like what Ben said, the Navy match our sophomore year, we were throwing hands, like just a barn burner. Yeah. And I remember getting just so fired up, and that's whenever it really clicked to me, just every single dude on this team is a bad man. It's just like Aaron Rodgers, he's a bad man. So just I got so fired up watching it. Like Austin Harry lost his match, but I got so fired up watching him wrestle because he was just clocking Nick Gill in the face, just every single time, hitting him. And we would play Johnny Cash in our room all the time. We would always say, blue collar tough, we're tough, playing Johnny Cash. And I remember the guy I wrestled walked out to Johnny Cash. I'm like, this guy's an idiot. And it just pumped me up. And I like, right off the bat, I wanted to just punch him right in the face. And obviously you can't. So I clubbed him really hard and I was giving him good hands like the whole time. And that's just, being an Army wrestler is just, you're the toughest man in the world. And like, we're the toughest guys out there. We can go do whatever we want. We do what we set our mind to. And that's what it means to me.
Right on, man. I'll tell you what, that chip on your shoulder doesn't leave.
You're going to work out at Arvin.
Yeah. What I was going to say was that chip on your shoulder doesn't leave when you graduate and commission. It'll be the same thing when you're out there being a lieutenant. So excited to see what you guys will do. Hey, Trey, wanted to hear from you what the greatest lesson you learned from your time being an Army wrestler was.
So I think one of the first lessons I ever learned here during Beast, it was like during mass athletics, first practice, started wrestling live, and I kind of got stuck in a position. And I was like, Coach, like, what's going on? Like, why? Like, I want to know, like, why can't I finish this takedown? He kind of just like looked at me and was like, figure it out. And I was like, well, what do you mean? Like, I don't get what you mean. Like, no, like, that doesn't make sense. Got frustrated, flustered. I couldn't figure out like what he was trying to tell me. So I was like flustered, wrestled terrible the rest of the practice. Like came back after mass athletics, like still couldn't figure it out. And it took me like a while for me to like realize that like, hey, like it's your career, you own up to your career. So it's on your own to figure these things out. The coaches can only take you so far. So it's up to you to be there, willing to put in the work, play wrestle through some situations and just figure some stuff out. And I think that's just not only a wrestling thing, but it's also a life thing for me. You got to figure some stuff out on your own. You know, just not, no one's got a recipe for success in life. You got to go figure that out. You got to go make your own breaks, make your own success. So I think that's the biggest lesson I learned.
Figure it out.
Yeah, that kind of goes back to the same thing Raph said in episode 2 when he just figured out some of the weaknesses he had and found a way to solve them, not just in wrestling, but in life. Well, I appreciate everything you guys are sharing from us. Before we close it out, definitely wanted to give an opportunity to anybody that wanted to speak about your teammate, CJ Morgan. I know Alex talked about him in his story, but for those that don't know, we lost a brother during an unfortunate training accident a year ago, last weekend. I've seen a lot of posts from you guys and from the program, and I feel like I know a little bit about CJ's personality based on his videos, always smiling and laughing and kind of who he was. But I know Samuel Williams, my understanding was you were his roommate. Maybe just to describe to us who CJ was, what he meant to you guys as teammates, and ultimately what is his legacy as you guys move forward.
So Chris, Chris went to the prep school with some of us, and yeah, it is. Anyway, so we went through Beast together, like we talked about earlier, and we all scrambled into different companies, with the exception of Chris and I. We were in the same academic year company, which was a blessing. And plebe year, we weren't able to room together because we weren't able to choose. But the next 2 years, we were roommates. And I mean, it's kind of like what Trey talked about. These are your best friends. These are your brothers. These are who you spend all your time with. I mean, doing the morning workouts, going to class, sitting with him at lunch, going to practice after class, going back to the room and doing homework, or, if it's the weekend, we go and hang out with each other. I mean, we spend pretty much all our free time and even our workout time with each other. So, I mean, this band of brothers is very close. In terms of who Chris was, I think, like you said, the videos do him justice to kind of give you an insight on who he was, but the dude was just a loving guy. I mean, he's like a big kid at heart, and he had a big heart. And so, I mean, it's hard to just describe with a few sentences how good of a person he was, but
Sure.
He was one of the best of us. And so it was sad to see him go, but I think, like, we keep talking about the brotherhood, and it's when you see it get tested through hard times and you see how close you all really are and how you really will be there for each other. I mean, it really is assuring that, I mean, these guys will be with you for the rest of your life through anything. So being able to be there for each other with the loss of one of our brothers, I mean, that's something that a lot of people don't experience. So I think, I mean, that just opened my eyes to how close we really are. So I'll let some of the other guys talk a little bit about it.
Appreciate you sharing.
I'll talk about it. I think, Sam hit the nail right on the head. I mean, I never met anybody or talked to anybody who had anything bad to say about Chris ever. I got one of my roommate. He's not, he's a regular cadet, not on the sports team or anything. And Chris treated him as like, he was one of the guys on the team. Like, people would come up to me and my roommate Mick and Chris hanging out, and people would automatically assume that my roommate was a wrestler. Like, he still gets asked, like, if he's on the wrestling team, because he would see how they would see how Chris would treat him, and just, they would just see, like, the love that Chris brought to any conversation or any room that he was in. So it was really important to me to be able to, like, looking back, spending the time that we had together. And I think one of the things that I said right after it happened, we were still at CLDT, was when I was talking to the guys, I was like, it's easy for us to, hang our heads and, be sad over the tragedy that happened. But a lot of us, the mood the mood changed to kind of being thankful because we had so many opportunities to have Chris in our lives, and he was the kind of guy who could bring you like a lifetime worth of happiness and only knowing him for 4 years, you know? So, I mean, I got more memories with Chris and more happy memories with Chris and fun times with Chris than people I've known my entire life. So that's something that helps me get through the pain I feel sometimes, especially like we were able to see him on June 6th. We were able to go down to his grave, and you know, I think nobody really felt like it had been a year, you know. So time kind of fooled us on that, but we had a lot of good conversations, and we all got to voice how much Chris meant to us, and I think that was a beginning, a good strong beginning to helping everybody out in the healing process of it.
Awesome. Appreciate you guys sharing all that. You know, it's I think it's almost an omen in a sense. You know, I saw a lot of you guys posting, you know, about, you know, on his 1 year, and you know, some of them stuck out. You know, with all the, you know, the stuff going on in the media and racial inequality and things like that. You know, the fact that, you know, and the T-shirt that they're doing the fundraiser for, you know, everybody love everybody. You know, I didn't know him personally, but you know, from everything that I've ever heard, you know, spoke about him, you know, he was a true, you know, spokesman for, you know, loving everybody and treating everybody with dignity and respect. So it's a great, I think it's, you know, a blessing in disguise. So I want to, you know, at least acknowledge that, you know, on our platform.
Absolutely. Well, it's a hard topic to follow up, but you know, we'll move forward and remember all the good times we had with him and his family certainly right now. But I appreciate you guys all coming on. I don't think I got anything else for you. I know you guys are busy and you got a lot to look forward to in the next couple of days with the actual graduation date. And I'm sure I have no idea what you guys' summers look like, but you'll be getting to your first assignments and doing all that kind of stuff. So, but I appreciate you guys coming on. It's been fun. Definitely learned a lot about you guys individually and your experience and all that kind of stuff. B-Row, you got anything for him?
Yeah, I'll just say, you know, take everything in the last 2 days. You know, this is going to be not necessarily the last time you're going to all be together in the same place, but, you know, spending this much time together, you know, in the future, you're going to have reunions and weddings and different excuses to get everybody together, but it's not going to be as long. And, you know, as time goes on, you're not going to be as close as you are right now. So take it all in.
Yeah, I just wanted to say thank you guys so much for having us on. It was really fun, and I don't know, Brian, you wouldn't have mentioned it, but he gave us a whole bunch of BHAW shirts that we'll be repping, and some pretty good cakey, doughy brownies, you know, really quality stuff. But thank you all so much, and just and if any old grads are out there, we've got a pretty big team of athletic interns here this year. So if you're in the West Point area, hey, you know, come swing through. You know, we'll be glad to have you over.
Absolutely, guys. Hey, appreciate having you guys on. Have a good graduation. Take it easy. Thanks for tuning in to the BHAW Radio Show. If you like what you heard, be sure to subscribe and leave us a 5-star rating on your favorite podcast platform. If there's something you'd like to hear on a future show, reach out to us on any of our social media, Instagram, Facebook, or Twitter. Or you can reach us at email, bhaw.radio@gmail.com. We'd love to hear your thoughts, and as always, go Army, be Navy.